Hey guys, thought I would give you a little bit of background on presentation aids and how we can make that work in your speech. So today what I'm going to do is just talk a little bit about why you might use them. And then in the second video that we're going to do, we'll talk about the actual use of them, how to actually execute that when you're in the space giving the speech. So let me just talk about some of the things that you might use as a presentation aid. And you can see those behind me there. For example, I might use a poster. I might use a picture of an incident or a piece of architecture or something like that would be really dramatic, maybe for the opening of my speech, perhaps. I might use the blackboard just like I am here with this video. So I can have everything written out for you in advance and you don't have to worry about writing things down. So there's different ways that you might approach that. PowerPoint, many places kind of require that in this technological age that we live in today. So that might be another kind of thing that you might do. Or you might give a speech and use the actual object. For example, if I'm demonstrating how to shoot a basketball, the logical thing to do would be to bring a basketball and use it, shoot it, go through the steps, go through the process. Although I must confess, I wasn't a very good shooter in high school, so that maybe I missed that lesson. But that would be a good kind of presentation object to have with you so that you could show people what you mean. And of course, the whole value of a presentation aid, and this is the second area that I'm going to talk about, is in terms of people remembering what you're talking about. It's really valuable because we know that people don't learn the same way. Some people are more audio oriented. Some people are more video oriented. Some people, have different ways that they process information. Well, knowing that, then you need to give them multiple sensory experiences. Boy, that's a mouthful, isn't it? I think that's in the textbook. But check out your audience. Who are they? We talked about this in audience analysis. Who are they? Are they pretty sophisticated about this kind of thing? Do they hear a lot of speeches? What's their background? Make your best guess about who they might be. Second thing you should think about is the speaker, you. What is your strength? Are you strong with, say, like a PowerPoint situation, or are you better with the object? So you need to kind of think about that and figure out, hey, what would I be best at? Because you want to put your best foot forward, so to speak, in order to create that environment. What's the subject? Some subjects just lend themselves to that. The example I just gave a second ago is a good example. Or something where you're showing something, maybe a process or a pie graph or something if you're showing, revenue increasing or revenue going down. And so there's a whole, thought process about, is that the kind of thing that would help me show the relationship that I want to show visually, rather than just saying what the relationship is. So that's another thing you should consider when you're deciding whether you use a presentation aid. And of course, you don't always have to use one. Now, in your persuasive speech, you're required to use some sort of presentation aid, but in real life, you might not need that. Multiple senses, we talked about that a little bit already. Giving it in different modes. In science class, for example, doing the actual experiments changes the way people process that information, and that can be huge in people really understanding the information. Repetition. By repeating the same thing through a visual format or some other kind of format other than the oral format, I don't think that most people really learn that way. They learn by doing. In a public speaking class like this, for example, that's probably the most primary way that we learn, is by actually getting up and giving a presentation. So in your calculation as to what you're going to do with the presentation as far as a presentation aid, these are the factors you ought to look at. Next time, we'll take a look at the actual use of the presentation aid and how you manipulate that during the speech. Thanks, guys. See you next time.